Let's hear it again for our kids. Thank you so much, Little Chico Creek. And we're going to ask that Little Chico Creek stays because we do have an award for Little Chico Creek. I'd like to invite the Honorable Judge Kristen Lucena and Butte County Assistant Superintendent Mary Sakuma to the podium.
Good evening. My name is Mary Sakuma, and I'm the Deputy Superintendent at Butte County Office of Education. On behalf of Superintendent Tim Taylor and the BCOE Board, I want to congratulate the Chico Unified School District Board upon winning the 2018 California Civic Learning Merit Award. This initiative is led by Chief Justice Tani Cantil-Sakue and California State Superintendent of Public Instruction Tom Torlakson. Its intention is to promote civic life and civic engagement for our youth. Your prestigious award is for the Little Chico Creek family for being a model for other schools in our county to emulate. To Kristen Schrock and her staff, congratulations for this award. In January, schools throughout Butte County signed the Butte County Promise, which will provide high-quality education to prepare all our students for college and career. Additionally, the Butte College Promise will provide every qualifying high school student, including Little Chico Creek students, 1 year free tuition at Butte College. Led by Chico State President Gail Hutchinson, Butte College President Samia Yacoub, BCOE Superintendent Tim Taylor, and Chico Unified's own Superintendent Kelly Staley, the commitment to the Butte County Promise includes civic education. President Hutchinson commented recently that there is nothing more important than teaching all students from preschool to college graduates to be good citizens and active community members. We know that Chico Unified strives for this as well by providing avid opportunities, community service, and the quality teaching you provide your students, and that's why you have been recognized by the state of California. Now it is my pleasure to introduce to you our Butte County leader for the Civic Learning Partnership, the Honorable Kristen Lucena.
I'm so thankful to be here to honor Little Chico Creek Elementary School. Tim Taylor and I have been working on this civic learning partnership for the last 3.5 years, and we've worked diligently to encourage schools across Butte County to incorporate civic learning into their education. The Civic Learning Award is co-sponsored, as Mary indicated, by the California Chief Justice Tani Cantil-Sakue and the California State Superintendent of Public Instruction Tom Torlakson. The award celebrates public schools' efforts to engage students in civic learning and identifies models that can be replicated in other schools. The award recognizes schools that implement the 6 research-based proven practices in civic learning that have been adopted by the Chico Unified School District back in 2015, and we're very pleased that you adopted that resolution. These 6 proven practices are, and I'm paraphrasing, courses on civics, government, law, and related topics, deliberations of current issues, service learning, student-led clubs, student voices in school, and simulations of adult civic roles, for example, our mock trial programs, both in the high school and elementary school levels. This award is open to elementary, middle, and high schools, and notably, Butte County has 2 award winners this year, joining Pleasant Valley High School, who won an Award of Merit in 2016. Today, I'm very pleased to honor, on behalf of the California courts, Little Chico Creek Elementary School on their Award of Merit for Civic Learning, and congratulate Kristen Schrock and also A.J. Haggard, who was instrumental in implementing their citizenship program at Little Chico Creek. So if you both come forward.
Thank you for sitting through this again. Lots of Little Chico Creek this evening. I did want to introduce to you A.J. Haggard. He's a grandfather at our site, but more importantly, his involvement with the Rotary and his imagination kind of spearheaded this project at Little Chico Creek, and he has given us so much time and energy and funds for our project that we couldn't have done it without him. We wouldn't have done it without him. And really, it's all because of him that we are getting this award. So I really wanted to thank him in front of all of you. So thank you, Mr. Hager. I so appreciate it.
I just wanted to thank Kristen, and actually both Kristens. I can tell you, when I first thought about getting involved in this, I thought Little Chico Creek would be the place to go. And boy, was I right. The instructors there, the leadership there, but most importantly, the students there are just unbelievably outstanding citizens. I spent a portion of my life as a deputy district attorney, and so I was trying to figure out a way that we could promote civic learning and understanding. And I thought starting with kindergarten would be a good way to go, because usually when I saw them, by the time they were 18 or 19, it was just so disappointing sometimes. So, and it has been, I can tell you, far more enjoyable and a learning experience for me than it could ever be for the kids. It's such a real honor to be able to see what the schools are doing now. You read so much bad things and disappointing things, but to when you go into a school like Little Chico Creek and see what's being done there, it is so uplifting to see that, and the pride is just amazing. So thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Once again, congratulations to Little Chico Creek. So tonight is a night of recognition, and I'd like to move into giving our community award. I'm going to ask David Cole and Jim Hanlon to join me at the podium, and tonight we will be recognizing Jane Dolan, and I'd like Jane to join us at the podium as well. Jane graduated in one of the very first Pleasant Valley High School graduating classes, 1967. Sorry. She said it was okay earlier. It was no surprise to learn she ran for and held leadership roles in her early Viking days, and she certainly didn't stop there. In her 20s, Miss Dolan became the first female and one of the youngest of either gender to be elected to the Butte County Board of Supervisors. During and beyond her years as a county supervisor, Ms. Dolan chaired countless committees, received numerous local and state awards. Her hard work was recognized by the California's governor, who appointed her to the California Water Board. Through all of her leadership roles, however, she remains an advocate for Chico's youth. She works the ticket booth at games, attends music festivals, fundraises for scholarships, and is the co-founder of the Chico High Sports Boosters, a group in which she's still very active. However, it is for her most recent role that we'd like to recognize Jane tonight. In January of 2012, Jane was selected by the California School Employees Association, CSEA, Chapter 110, to serve as their appointee to the Chico Unified School District Personnel Commission. Jane served in this position for the last 6 years, completing 2 full 3-year terms this past January. Thank you, Jane, for your ongoing dedication to our students and for the time you dedicated to the classified employees of our school district.
Well, good evening. Good evening. My name is David Cole. I'm the secretary to the Personnel Commission. And to begin with, we're really very fortunate in Chico to have so many people that are willing to step up and help our schools and districts with their talents and time. And Jane really exemplifies, I think, what's best about Chico. She stepped in 6 years ago, became one of our personnel commissioners. During that time, she's given countless hours before, after, and during meetings to make sure that our rules are followed and evenly applied. She has been a person that has been a great leader on our group. She has stepped forward in many different subcommittees and worked with us We've been very, very, very fortunate to have her be part of our community. I think what I like about Jane is that she's always at all the meetings, and she always has something that she'll add to the meeting. No matter what the topic is, Jane has some knowledge in that area, and she shares that with you, which is always great for us. And so I've truly appreciated it. I will miss her, and the commission will miss her. She's been a great advocate for us and a great proponent of the merit system, and I wish her well. As part of that, her co-commissioners and Kelly Staley have a token of appreciation as well, and we'd like to give that to you.
Okay, one more. So I have to tell you just a really quick story. When I first became principal of Chico High School back in 2003, one of the very first meetings that I was at was for the Chico High Boosters. And it was during the summer. I don't know if you remember this, Jane. But we were at that time, I think the Boosters was bringing in $10,000 or $11,000 a year. And she looks at me, and she doesn't really know me. I mean, I'm kind of the new guy. She looks at me, she goes, "Jim, there's no reason why we can't be making $50,000 a year for sports and build from there." And I thought, okay. and from that moment forward, I discovered that if Jane sets her mind to something, Jane is going to accomplish it. Because, I mean, as you recall, just last year, in one fundraiser, the Boosters made over $100,000 on the car raffle. So that $50,000 was a low water mark, but we went beyond that. And we made that goal in a few short years, and we surpassed that very quickly. And that's the thing that I've appreciated working with Jane. She knows how to accomplish things. I'm going to miss her on the Personnel Commission. I miss working with her at Chico High now that I've left there, but it's been a pleasure working with you, Jane. Thank you very much.
I guess I do always have something to say. I think this is way too much, and I really do appreciate it. And I'm going to just make two corrections. I was elected to the Butte County Board of Supervisors. I was elected at the same time as Hilda Wheeler, and we joined Bertha Mosley. But we were the first Board of Supervisors, or Board of Commissioners, as they are west of the Mississippi, to have a majority of women right here in Butte County. So I was pleased to serve there and with them, even though everyone kept asking us. I'm sure you get this too. Will it be all right to have a majority of women? Of course, it's about time. Yes, I'm involved at Chico High, and Chico Junior and Chapman, and was at Rosedale. But I want to say all the work that we do at Sports Boosters to promote the value of sports as part of a comprehensive high school is in partnership with my alma mater, Pleasant Valley. We want both schools to be well-funded because they're both great schools. This is an incredible honor. I was happy to serve, to be part of a commission that oversees a system that I appreciate and honor, and a group of employees that I similarly appreciate and honor as being part of the whole organization that makes the school district the quality that it is. A merit system is very important. I know about it as a very young person when my father was part of a group of people in Butte County that got Butte County to adopt the merit system because it had basically a de facto patronage system. It's just important to have a system that provides opportunity and fairness and transparency and integrity in the hiring and the promotion and the selection and the honoring of that. The work has always been interesting to me. I was honored to follow Leonard Wycon in the position of representing the classified and the CSEA, and really very much appreciated working with Gloria Beavers and Scott Jones. So I'll miss that, but I think I'll find something to do, and I come visit a lot. So thank you very much for this small time to let me talk, and this is really overwhelming, and I appreciate it a lot.
Mr. President.
Go ahead.
I've known Jane for a few years, and our paths have crossed in many roles. And much has been said about Jane and her attributes. What I would like to add is I have never met a woman that was more prepared for whatever meeting or enterprise or project that we were about to enter into. When Jane showed up prepared. And we much appreciated that, Jane, and all of the things you've done for the community and for the school district. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Once again, thank you, Jane. So for our certificated superintendent's award, I'd like to invite Diane Olson to come up and join me. And in fact, the first superintendent's award goes to Diane Olson. On March 14th, we already were expecting a very busy day. We knew we were having the 17 minutes for 17 lives activities taking place. We were gathered, some of us at Chico High, to provide support there. And a little bit after 9 o'clock, I received a phone call from Chico State, and they had lost a student who had fallen off of Butte Hall. And Chico State does not have the crisis counselors that we do. And they asked for support from Chico Unified, and I turned to Diane, and Diane was all over it. She made it happen. She pulled people together. She got them over to Chico State for at least 2 days. And the support that we provided really helped our entire educational community. And while we always care about K-12 first and foremost, we are part of a larger system. And so I want to thank Diane personally for making that happen. And we are going to thank and recognize her entire team. So thank you, Diane.
As Kelly said, we here at Chico Unified, and sometimes no one even realizes it, but we are prepared to respond to any crisis that happens across the district. And as Kelly mentioned in this case, to our neighbors, to Chico State. There are so many times every day that I have a group of psychologists that are ready to respond and give all of their heart and all of their soul to helping students that are in individual traumatic crisis or in larger cases like this one where it affects the community. We found that at Chico State there weren't the amount of resources that we have at Chico Unified, and so I called on a group of people to drop everything they were doing, their assessments, their individual crises. We had had a attempt of suicide within the district that day that someone was already responding to. They're asked to do this every day on top of keeping us compliant in an ever-changing and legal special education world. So I want to invite up here, and they're going to be very angry at me. Kanaya Redham, Jamie Trowbridge, Linda Sager, Norelia Cardania, I already said that wrong, sorry, Patience Hervey, and not able to be present, Dave Scott was also one of the responders. And they were there in an intense situation, responding to each student, each faculty member, each staff member that needed immediate response to a crisis they experienced because of the crisis that had happened. They facilitated crisis suicide assessments on the spot. They did follow-up. Some of them even gave their phone numbers to some of the students or staff so that they could make sure that they were safe, that that person that was experiencing social, emotional, traumatic experiences was safe. And so I want to thank these five and Dave, but the whole psych team, because if other psychs weren't able to kind of fill in and be ready while these ones work, and you have to know that their work doesn't go away when they step away for 2 days. They went home and were doing reports until 2 o'clock in the morning for meetings that were at 7 o'clock the next morning. So they gave a lot to be able to do this. So these are the ones I'm recognizing. Okay. I'm not saying that. Peyton Kirby. Linda Steger. And Amy Trowbridge. We do have one statement to be read.
We were tricked into coming. I want to thank you for the time because it's often difficult to know what a school psychologist is. Some people think we're a shrink. We're partially that. It's important to know that as a school psychologist, like many of us in education, we balance many obligations at one time. We are part administrators, ensuring that students are placed in appropriate programs as they move in, spend countless hours investigating their previous services and proper records, ensuring that staff follow legal protocol. We attend at least 2 to 10 IEP meetings a week. We are completing a high volume of assessments for students needing initial evaluation or 3-year evaluations for special education, and these require up to 15 hours each. And these assessments are on a timeline that are legally bound. In between these assessments, on any given day, you have a suicidality assessment on a student, mental health referrals to other agencies or to the SELPA to complete and turn in, multiple behavior challenges that come to coordinate with your staff, 1 to 2 hours of social work to communicate with parents or agencies, and staff meetings to attend. There are always your daily visits to have with social emotional needs of students that range from moderate to significant. We often have very few windows to reschedule any meeting or appointment that is canceled. Many of us work late nights, early mornings, weekends, vacation days to complete many of these reports that are legally binding. We often have 120% to do, and accomplishing most of our to-dos on a daily basis is challenging because of the unpredictable events that happen from day to day. We are pulled away from a day to provide mental health crisis to our schools or any other place. It means we fall significantly behind. It means that there are many more late nights and early mornings, weekends, or vacation days with report writing. This takes away from family time and creates burnout. It means at school the student will be missed. The assessment schedule for that day gets moved into tiny spaces in our schedule around what was already there or taken away from our lunch. The parent meeting has to be on a different day. Most of us love providing crisis counseling. It is an area we were well trained in, but yet have very little time to do until it falls into our lap. Being present with a student in crisis is difficult. It can take on a great amount of emotional energy, and often there's no way to debrief with anyone at the end. Some of these crisis counseling situations can lead to the need to make sure the student is going to get further support, or that another student that they know is connected with the services they need. Some of these additional supports need multiple hours of case management. From the work that we do and staff meetings that we often attend at school, we know that mental health and trauma difficulties are increasing and are more of a concern. These crisis counseling is a momentary thing we provide, but we often practice it on a weekly basis at our sites. And I can tell you that school counselors do this at this level too, with little time. The difficult part is we already work way beyond our capacity on most days, and crisis counseling with our workload can make it difficult for many of us weeks on after the crisis. I think, do you want to? A lot of us realize through the support at Chico State that we have many students like the one at Chico State in elementary school, in junior high, and in high school. And we see them on a daily basis, and because we're working with the very little amount of time we have, it's always hard to find and create the support we need with that. But I appreciate the time you've given us to just be able to tell you a little bit about what we do, but also what we love.
Thank you very much.
So once again, we'd like to congratulate our award winners this evening, and I will turn it over to President Lou Stahl.
Thank you very much. Okay, we move now to announcements. Do we have any announcements to be made? Mr. Shepard, you have any announcements? I think you're right. Items from the floor, item 7. This is a time for somebody to bring up an item that is not on the agenda. Do we have any of those? Come forward, state your name.
My name is Mike Christensen. I'm a retired teacher and presently the president of the Bidwell Junior High School Foundation. And recently we were preparing our newsletter to send out, and I noticed that there were no board members on our mailing list. And the question came up at our board meeting was, I wonder if they know we exist. So here I am to tell you a little bit about the Bidwell Junior High School Foundation. It was established in 2005 by a group of former Bidwell Junior High School staff members. And over the years, the foundation board has included former and current staff members from Bidwell Junior High School and parents from Bidwell Junior High School students and community members. The goals of the foundation are twofold. One was to establish a funding source for staff to help close the gap between department budgets and department needs. And second, to establish an endowment fund which we hope someday will support the foundation without having to conduct our annual fundraising activities. The foundation is supported by the Friends of Bidwell Junior High School through an annual fundraiser that includes current and former staff. The Friends of Bidwell include current and former staff members, Bidwell Junior High School graduates, parents of current and former Bidwell Junior High School students, and community members. And we also have received funding from competitive grants that we've applied for. Currently, our endowment fund has a balance of over $33,000, and it's named in honor of John Schultz, a former Bidwell Junior High School teacher and Chico High School teacher, and Linda Wilbur, who is a former Bidwell staff member and recently passed away. Our general fund, since 2005, we've contributed over $63,000 to Bidwell staff members in the form of 150 grants that they've requested. 40,000 of that has come through donations from the Friends of Bidwell, and over 20,000 of that has come through competitive grants that we've applied for through the Discovery Shop and the Chico Children's Endowment Fund and Walmart. I attended the last special board meeting and enjoyed hearing the reports from Ryan on the music department, Ryan Heimlich at the music department at Pleasant Valley High School. And I'm happy to let you know that we've contributed over $13,000 to the music department at Bidwell Junior High School when they were trying to reestablish the music department. And Ryan was an integral part of that beginning for us. Also at the last meeting, Kathy Kaiser mentioned the need for inclusion of all students. And We have received 2 grants from the Chico Children's Endowment Fund totaling $9,500 over the past 2 years that are, the money is aimed to support students in challenging living situations, homeless students, foster children, families that are, multiple families living in one household, multiple generational families, students who have challenges. So we've used that money to support them with school supplies and backpacks, PE clothes so that they look like everybody else in PE class, and other needs that they have, bus passes and that sort of thing. So I brought copies of the newsletter to share with you, and I will put you on our e-list.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mike.
Just give those to Erica, right? Yeah, right there. Perfect. Thank you very much. Okay, we will now move to item number 8, which is negotiations update. And so, Jim, we'll just have you run right from that to item 10.3.1.
All right. Whoa, thank you. Okay, so before I get started, I just want to acknowledge the leadership of CUTA President Kevin Moretti and CUTA Bargaining Chair Charlie Snyder in bringing you this tentative agreement. Without their leadership, we wouldn't be sitting here approving this wonderful agreement. So thank you guys both and the negotiation team. I don't know if everyone heard, but also the negotiation team for CTA. We've really transformed the relationship between the district and CTA with the initiation of interest-based bargaining supported by the board. So I think we have made a lot of headway as far as working through different issues and being able to come to some resolution in a real positive way. So this is somewhat of an unprecedented agreement in that it's a 3-year agreement on wages and benefits. And in addition to that, we got through multiple other issues, including prep time, missed called meeting time, grant-funded extra assignment pay, hiring retired teachers, elementary stipends, and leave policy. So we accomplished quite a bit in this TA, and we're very proud of it. So as I present this to you for approval, I want to thank the board explicitly for their support as we move through the process also.
If I may continue with the negotiations update?
Yep.
So it's been a tough 40 years between us, and every year we'd suit up for battle and come in, and now it's not. And people keep asking me what changed. I'm sure there's a lot of factors that I don't know which ones they are, and I don't think I care. I really like the place that we've gotten to. And I think we have a kindergarten teacher that served on our executive board for many years that sent you all and us a letter, and she said it best when she said, I just wanted to say thank you for all your hard work regarding negotiations. I love the positive energy in CUSD and appreciate everything that is being done to improve teacher and district relations. We all have the same goal to do what's best for kids, and now more than ever, we're working on that vision together. And I think she said it really well and really short, and it's just been music to our ears. And we have actually, before or after, Tanner John, who volunteers to do the jazz band, came in to play some music for us to celebrate along with all our teachers.
And you have a concert coming up, correct?
Yes, tomorrow is the Chico Unified School District
Thank you.
So 8.3.1 now? I'm sorry, 10.3.1 in the place of 8.0.
I presented it to you, so now we just let the board take action on the tentative agreement.
You got to wait till we vote.
Yeah, really, we haven't voted yet.
And voted.
I move that we pass item 10.3.1, the approval of the CUSD-CUTA tentative agreement.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, motion's been made and second. Do we have any further discussion? The board? Seeing none, do we have any discussion from the audience? You're a quiet group. Oh, there you go. I almost don't recognize you without your orange shirts, but anyway, so we have no one from the audience. We have a motion on the floor. All those in favor? Oh, excuse me?
Me again. I got to sit in on, I had the pleasure, actually, of sitting in on a majority of the negotiation sessions for the last 3 years. And not only do I admire the hard work that both teams went through to reach where we are today, but I also learned a lot because of all of the in-depth information that both sides shared about what drives them toward the things that they put on the table for change or modification or inclusion into the contract. So I appreciate Charles and the bargaining team and Kevin and Jim. Yeah, I wasn't going to leave our guys out, guys and gals. But yes, I appreciate the fact that you let me sit in the corner for all of those hours. It was a great pleasure, and this feels really good.
Very well. Okay, all those in favor with a roll call vote.
Griffin, aye.
Hovey, aye.
Lustal, aye.
Robinson, aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Okay, so what we'll do now is we're going to have a small 3-minute, I'm counting it, break so that those of you who want to exit may now do so.
And as you're exiting, thank you for being here tonight. I've sat through ones that were not so positive, and I love seeing you here when it's positive as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
I've never seen.
Okay, we will now reconvene our meeting. We are on item 9.1, which is the consent agenda or consent calendar. Do we have any items to be pulled?
Yes, Mr. President, I'd like to pull 9.1.1.
Okay, I move that we pass the remainder of the consent calendar.
I'll second.
Okay, and the item's been, it's been what? It's been moved. Oh, boy, everybody left and I forgot how to think. It's been moved and seconded. Do we have any discussion? Any from the audience? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Passes 4-0. Now, item 9.1.1.
Okay. I pulled this agenda item because I need to split it. Number one, I was here for closed session on the February 21st meeting, but I needed to leave and was not here for open session, so I don't feel right about voting on that. In addition, though, I would like to request a change in the language on that February 21st meeting. It says in there that I was leaving because my husband was receiving an award for his work with the city of Chico. And I'm not really sure where that came from. He was being honored at an event, but it was not with the city of Chico. So if we could just correct that.
Okay.
In that case, I move with the corrections noted that we pass item 9.1.1.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, motion's been made in second. Do we have any other discussion? Seeing none, any from the audience? I see none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I will abstain.
Passes 3 and 1 abstention. Okay, we will now move to item 10.1.1, Informational Fairview High School. Jay.
Actually, I'm just up here to introduce Andrew Mall and his peer mediators for everybody from Fairview. They're going to talk about a conference that they went to down in Berkeley and the great things that they did down there. So here you go, Andrew.
Thank you, sir. Good evening. I just want to thank you for your time and your continued support of Fairview campus, and especially our peer mediators and providing the opportunity that they took place in out in Berkeley. Before these courageous kiddos come up here, I want to give my sincerest thank you to Mike Carroll and Lori Kligerman for bringing the peer mediation program back to the Fairview campus. Their endless support is truly appreciated, and I'm thankful that they're there every week. In addition, Ann Brodsky provided the funding for this opportunity through the TUPE grant that she's going to talk about. It seems Ann is always contacting me every week with something new that she can support our students with, and I appreciate everything she does. And then most importantly, you kiddos, I appreciate everything you did. You made us all very proud in the way you represented not only Fairview, but Chico Unified. So I appreciate all that you do, and I want to let you know that you inspire us every single day. So thank you. All right, Ann Brodsky.
Hi, we are really lucky to have we wrote the grant, so it was a great grant, but a little bit of luck went into it too, I guess. We're in the 3rd year of our tobacco use prevention education grant with California Department of Education. It's been extended 2 years, so we've got 2 more years after this. One of the activities that's required under the grant is to provide youth development and student leadership opportunities. So Alameda County Office of Education for 20 years has been doing this Teens Tackle Tobacco, Alcohol, Drugs, and Wellness Conference in Berkeley. And it's an opportunity for leaders to not only go and attend workshops, but some are also given an opportunity to do presentations to other students and other adults in California. So I just wanted to let you know that we had a really strong group attend this year, and I'm really proud to do what I do, and I thank you for your support and look forward to the next couple years doing more of it. Thank you.
Hello, my name's Lori Kligerman. I'm one of the co-advisors for the peer mediation program at Fairview. I have a little slideshow running through of our trip to Berkeley that I wanted to share, and it'll just run through while we're talking. I wanted to thank you for the opportunity and the support for our students to bring them to Berkeley to have this experience. I want to thank and say how proud I am of our students for stepping up out of their comfort zone, for saying that they want to learn healthy ways to communicate and teach those ways to their peers. They also not only attended the conference, they presented at a workshop, and right before our presentation, another presenter fell ill, and they asked us to do a second presentation, and without hesitation, our mediators said yes. So they actually did 2 presentations. I'm very proud of them for that, and I want to also thank you for helping me check an item off my bucket list, which was to be a school bus driver. So thank you. Without further ado, I would like to introduce Devin Miller. She is our senior mediator. She's been with the program since August of 2017.
Hello. First of all, I would like to thank the school board and Lori and Mike Ann and Mike for the skills and experience I have been gifted. Peer mediation has reinstalled the confidence I have in myself to bring my problem-solving skills to my daily life and to others. The conference I attended in Berkeley gave me a new perspective on my own purpose, and I feel like there's nothing holding me back from my dreams or helping others achieve their dreams. So first, I'd just like to thank you guys so much for the opportunity, because it was really a good experience. When I first got to the conference, I expected a lot less of myself, and I wasn't giving myself enough credit for the cool thing I got to participate in because of the school I went to and the reputation I was given. But I then realized that I was in a different city, and people didn't see me as a Fairview kid who was a troublemaker. They just saw me as another student. And as I started to talk, I realized that all the anxiety and nervousness I had a few months ago before I started peer mediation wasn't there anymore, and I got a huge boost of confidence. I started to notice students in the audience. They were taking notes, and they were paying attention, and they were nodding and asking questions. And I felt like I was really teaching and helping people. And after the conference, I felt so confident in my skills that I started to use them more. Me and my family, like my mom and my little siblings, we fight a lot less. And the feeling of feeling so mature in a situation like that made me inspired to want to feel that feeling of maturity a lot more, and it caused me to realize how important responsibility really was, and it made me improve a lot of my decisions and just crave that feeling of feeling like I really was making a difference, and I feel a lot more confident than I ever have. So thank you.
Hi, my name is Emily Atlas. This is my first year in peer mediation, but my 3rd year at Fairview and last year. But peer mediation has given me the skills to help mend some of my relationships. Also learning and understanding more of them. The Berkeley trip was incredible, one of my favorite experiences. Being able to teach students my age how to mediate conflicts is such an amazing feeling. I got to share my story and talked about my mother and I and how rough our relationship has been. I didn't realize how much of an impact my story would make on others. There was this one girl named Norma in a situation almost identical to mine, and after the conference she came up to me and hugged me. I cried. She said she's never had someone she could relate to so much. I gave her my number and we talk all the time, so thank you so much for allowing me to have that experience. Thank you.
Hi. Some of you remember me as a school psychologist. I'm now retired, and I'm an elementary school counselor. And I just wanted to mention that we were the school that was the furthest away from Berkeley than any of the other schools, of which where there were over 20 high schools in the conference. And I was able to grasp that information very quickly when they referred to us as from Chino, and I said, no, not Chino, Chico. In addition to the story, the impact that the students have shared with you, I would also like to mention that there were 42 students in the first, 42 participants in the audience in the first presentation by our mediators, and there was a 4-point scale for evaluation. 1 being poor, 2 being average, 3 being good, and 4 being excellent. And our mediators scored 3.5 on that scale. So anyone who knows statistics really appreciates the value of that. And I just wanted to also, in tune with the folks that are working together for our program at Fairview, that we are a team. We're a peer mediation team, and we're really excited about the opportunities being presented to us in the future. And thank you so much for giving us this opportunity.
And I do want to point out, for those of you that may not know, Lori Kligerman is our former school resource officer.
And one more note about the conference. So there was an award given out for best title of the conference, and these students here came up with the Solve the Drama Without Your Mama. So it was really...
Okay, before you walk away, I wanted to mention something. You know, each meeting we receive a number of reports about students who have been expelled, and we hear the backgrounds, and it breaks our hearts to hear what a lot of the students have been through. And so having a program where you can talk to other students, you can help them learn to deal with the conflict in their lives, in what has gone down in their past, that is so important. That is one of the most important things, and you're doing wonderful work with what you're doing. So thank you for getting out there, doing that. I hope you recruit more. I hope this program continues, because I'm sure it has just incredible value. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Don't go away yet. Thank you, Lori, and for I'm wonderful. Isn't retirement great? I have a real soft spot in my heart for Fairview, and spend as much time as I can visiting out there. But the one thing that I will never miss is a Fairview graduation. They are the most inspirational, heartwarming, with some of the strongest messages delivered by students that I have ever heard. And I admire you guys so much for just picking up and carrying on no matter what. And when, stuff happens and you fall down, you are reaching out for support. And that's the key. Just, you're never alone. And so don't ever try and do it on your own, because there's folks out there you can grab onto. And I love the staff and the students at Fairview, and I so appreciate everything you're doing. Thank you, Ann.
That's it. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Okay, we now move to item 10.1.2. Mr. Shepard.
How are you? I really don't have anything to report. I just wanted to give you an opportunity to ask any questions if you have any. If you don't, that's great too. About our WASP, we're in our 3-year mid-cycle report. We have some folks showing up on April 3rd for a full-day visit.
Go ahead.
Thank you, John. I did have a question. It got answered. Did you see my question float through? Anyway, what my question was, as we were sitting last night at the LCAP meeting, it came to me that I wondered how input from parents got into the process. And in your report, I saw that it was very clearly outlined the amount of outreach that you do on site with your school site council and other parent groups and combinations of other groups, and learned that that input that you gather at the site level is then filtered through your administrative meetings at the district level and on to administrative staff when it needs to be incorporated. So I appreciate that it was mentioned in your report, because that was something that I think is very important with the LCAP process. And as we saw last night, not every parent can get to those meetings, and the fact that your school does as much work as they do to make sure that the voices of your parents that aren't able to get to those kinds of meetings are heard. I appreciate that. Thank you. It was a wonderful report, by the way.
I think you're off the hook, but you could tell us about those championship teams that went to Sacramento. And how proud you are of them.
I'm pretty excited for the kids and the staff. They work. Matter of fact, I think some of those kids have another basketball tournament with their year-round team this Saturday, so it never ends and all the time they put in. But for me, personally, watching things like the yearbook advisor, getting to be on the floor, sitting in a press row seat, taking pictures, and the House of Blue kids at each end of the court taking pictures probably of each other is just as important as what's going on the floor.
Oh, exactly.
It's a whole experience, and it's hard to replicate it.
You didn't mention your water towel boy?
Yeah, they're hard to find. They're really hard to find.
Gator boy.
But Jay Marchand, we had to give him something to do because he's a regular squirrel kind of guy.
And while we're talking about basketball, I do want to mention that both the boys and girls teams will be honored at the City Council chambers, and then the following night is a board meeting, and so we can ask some or all, they're probably going to be a little worn out on their road tour here, but those that can make the board meeting, maybe seniors or maybe just the coaches, could come and you could express your gratitude there as well. But they will be at City Council and getting a proclamation for the day of PV basketball, getting keys to the city, and because both teams went so far, they are honoring both. So exciting times. And they will be leading off the Pioneer Day Parade.
Yes, thank you for mentioning that. Pioneer Day Parade, May 5th, Cinco de Mayo.
Headed to the Senate floor sometime at the end of April, too. We were notified this morning, so be exciting. Thank you.
A lot of data, a lot of good data. Okay, we now move to item 10.2.1. Jacqueline.
Good evening. I'm coming forth to you this evening for the passage of Resolution 1420-18, which is interfund borrowing between funds. It's stimulating as that sounds. Essentially what it is government code requires the county treasury that every single one of the county treasury funds, which is where we keep our funds for Chico Unified, be positive after the fourth Monday of April through June 30th. So annually, I come back to the board every year and ask for you to pass this resolution to allow me to be able to temporarily borrow general fund dollars to those smaller funds that may be cash negative at any point from that fourth Monday in April through June 30th. Typically, we now have a child development fund, so there may be a possibility that we would need to borrow for that, as well as our nutrition services cafeteria fund. At this point, those are the only two funds we're looking at. We do, I believe Gary asked it last year, we do pay interest back to the general fund per day for those funds that are borrowed. So while the general fund is not earning that interest because it's been moved to these two other funds, those funds then pay back the general fund for the days that they miss the interest. I'm just asking for your passage of the resolution.
I have a question. What interest rate do you charge?
The county provides that, and it's based every quarter. We get a new interest rate because they have a whole complex investing strategy in order to maximize the interest we can get. So it's more than if you get it at a local bank. I think we're pushing 1% right now, which is actually a lot.
1% annual, not per month. Okay. Very good. Okay, I think we're good here.
I move that we pass Resolution 1420-18.
I'll second.
Okay, motion's been made in second. Do we have any further discussion? I see none. Do we have any discussion from the audience? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Since we didn't have a unanimous vote on the last because of the abstention, do we again need to do roll call?
We'll do one.
Okay, Griffin, aye.
Hovey, aye.
Loosdahl, aye.
Robinson, aye.
There, now we're legit. Okay, motion passes unanimously. Okay, we now move to item 10.2.2.
Well, the district has received benefits from having standard contracts across the entire district. One of those that we had not previously addressed with a request for proposal was our photography services. We put out a request for proposal back in November. We had really two vendors who provided us proposals. Really only one of those could provide all the services that we requested. So we are bringing forward a contract with LifeTouch. We've worked with them previously. They've been very good and responsive. We've had some good conversations about improving some services in some areas. But we are very confident that they'll be able to meet those desires and demands on our part. So with that, I would recommend that the board enter into an agreement with LifeTouch. As a reminder, this does not cost the district any money. It provides them an opportunity then to sell their services to our students and parents.
Okay. I move passage of item 10.2.2.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, motion's been made and second. Any other discussion? Seeing none, any discussion from the audience? I see none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes unanimous. We now move to item 10.2.3.
It's the Wonder Women.
Hello. Jacqueline and Kevin and I are going to present the second interim budget. Second interim budget projections change from first interim. That's because as we move on through the year, we try to evaluate what's going on and get closer to reality. State principal apportionment, LCFF revenue, recertified in February 2018. That's not final. That will be based on our P2, which runs through April. Updated position control reflecting actual hires and vacancies as of March 1st, 2018. And the multi-year projection includes the governor's January proposal for 2018-19. Right now, it's looking like education will be fully funded. We'll get an update on that in the May revise. And interim budget reports require self-certification by the district, and Chico Unified is certifying positive. Okay, the major themes we're going to cover is the impact of one-time funding, enrollment, average daily attendance, increasing trend, as you've seen that we've projected before. We're going to look at multi-year projections, and then the PERS and STIRS annual cost increases. Okay, so there's going to be 3 slides on the one-time funding for the one-time funds that we received in 15-16, 16-17, and 17-18. So this shows what our spending plan was and what we actually spent in the 15-16 through projected 18-19. And then the bottom of this is the effect those one-time funds have on our bottom line. So you can see when we received the $5.9 million in 15-16, we only spent 2.4 of it. That left us a surplus that year of 3.5. Right now, we're still spending the 15-16 one-time funds, and we project to spend more in 18-19. For the 16-17 one-time funds, a big component of this one was technology. This is where we were looking to get closer to that 1-to-1 ratio for computers for students. And we have spent a great deal of this already, as you've heard in program, rolling out the Chromebooks to those junior high kids.
Can I stop you just for a second?
Sure.
The slide previous that on it showed still a balance in art and music of what, 28,000?
Yes.
Can they still use that?
Yes.
Okay, and they know that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you.
And this is the 17-18 one-time funds this year. Right now we're projecting to spend all of it, but yes, if there is unspent money, like we may not be able to get through the playground updates in this year, then that will be carried over for 18-19, but currently we're projecting to spend it all. But the part of that is compensation this year, which is part of the agreements that you're signing with the bargaining units. Okay, one of the major factors that we're talking about is increasing ADA. So this slide it's pretty busy. It's got a lot of numbers, but basically it's showing where we came from because Chico Unified hasn't always had increasing enrollment, increasing ADA. So in 13-14, 14-15, we actually declined. 15-16, we moved up. This fourth column over here, change in enrollment, shows that we went up by 60 students, a higher increase in 16-17, and then 17-18, our CBEDS is 12,201. So we did go up by 236 students. We're not funded on enrollment. We're funded on P2 ADA. So going forward in these estimates, if you look historically, even when we were declining, P2 ADA was about 95.5%. So our projections in the future years show that we're projecting 95.5% because it seems like a good estimate. Looking forward, 18-19, 19-20, these projected changes in enrollment are based on a 3-year average, and we project very conservatively for transitional kindergarten and kindergarten. So the next slide is a bar graph on the CBEDS versus P2 ADA. So you can kind of see how we declined in both, and then we're moving up. In our future projections, we're moving up as well, but not quite the big jump that we had from 16-17 to 17-18. Jacqueline is going to present the next slide.
So Marie just kind of touched on enrollment and ADA. So we want to talk about the major assumptions that we put into putting together second interim to present to you this evening. So the local control funding formula, which is essentially the dollars that we get for our average daily attendance, so for students who are coming to school every day. We updated that calculation using the most recent FCMAT calculator, so that has all the state requirement pieces into it. Our funded ADA is 11,634 based on enrollment of just over 12,000. Again, that we're assuming an attendance factor on average for each kid is 95.5%. The big one is unduplicated counts, right, which are the free and reduced, the homeless, and the English language learners. So the state changed how they're doing their direct certification. So they're actually identifying more students. So at original budget, we had about a 45% percentage of our students that fit into one or more of those categories. When we actually got the state certification, our percentage jumped up to about 46.7. So that is extra supplemental dollars for the district as a result of the state changing in how they are identifying students through the direct certification. As Marie talked about, we got one-time money this year, $1.6 million. We put in both the revenue and the expense, so no impact to the bottom line. Salaries and benefits were as of March 1st. And of course, PERS and STIRS increases with the current year rates. So kind of big picture, I know it's a lot of numbers, but we'll focus on a couple things here. This is our income statement, both on the unrestricted side as well as the restricted side. So we got $135 million in revenue. I remember when the budget was $100 million. Now we're just getting that from LCFF as $100 million. So our unrestricted revenue is $106 million, which accounts for 78% of our money coming into the district. So with moving to LCFF and getting away from the categoricals, most of our money, 78% of it, is coming in as unrestricted. So 22% is coming in as restricted. You'll see on the unrestricted side that our change in fund balance is negative $1.8 million. I just want to remind you that includes all the one-time money from 15, 16, and 16, 17. So a couple of Marie's slides that she was talking about, I think it was the 15, 16 money, that alone was $1 million of it. So Kevin will speak to, if we take the one-time money out, what does our actual income statement look like? How are we doing day-to-day operationally? As a board, it's really important to understand the budget in totality, but really, how's it spent? So there's a graph in front of you, hopefully it's on your screen down here, that shows where the money's spent. And really, if you look at the three green pies, that totals up to 84% of our budget. And that's our total budget, including restricted programs, which sometimes can't go to staffing. You're looking at about 90, 91% if you just look at the unrestricted side. So we're here to serve kids. We hire people to do that, and this reflects that. So local control funding formula example, this is essentially how we are being funded currently with this new formula. So the floor, or kind of, which is the first column, which is kind of how we used to be funded, was the revenue limit plus some categoricals, and then we had this big remaining gap, and that's where the state's been funding the last several years to get us to ultimately what is our target. So you can see in 17-18, now instead of revenue limit, we get a base grant, we get a small amount for grade span adjustment for our TK3 as well as our 9 through 12. And then we get supplemental dollars. We're not eligible for concentration. And the state says we're going to put a little bit of money towards that kind of royal blue area, navy blue area that's funded, but there's still a little bit left that isn't quite funded yet. So that third column says, here's your target. There won't be any remaining gap. You will get your base, your grade span adjustment, and your supplemental dollars. And so that is what is proposed for next year. So we're getting really, really close to hitting that target. We're about 3.2 million shy as of right now. But Governor Brown, in his January proposal, did propose full funding. And so from what we've seen from school service and other advocacy groups, it appears that's going to happen. We'll find out more at the May revision. But it's important to note out that once we hit that target, the only increases will be COLA, or cost of living adjustment. So that's the only increase there's going to be, for assuming your ADA stays flat. Obviously, you'll get more money if you have more students. But that's really the really important part about once we do hit that target at full funding. So a couple things to note, transfers in and transfers out, which are basically contributions between funds. We do get some redevelopment agency pass-through money, about $2.5 million that helps to pay for our maintenance department. And then we also are able to take up to 3% of our developer fees that we collect to help with some of the administrative burden of collecting those. We also give a contribution to nutrition services of about $315,000 this year. One key note is we did get a clean air quality grant related to the purchase of 8 buses. So the total cost of the buses were about $1.2 million, and the grant was $677,000. So the grant covered just over half, which is great. And I think we've received 7 of the 8, I believe. I think we have 1 pending that Bob told me we get before June 30. So we will have an annual payback. I think it's $96,000 or so, just under $100,000 payback on that for the next couple years. And then our contributions, so we do get 78% of our money as unrestricted, but we do contribute to the restricted side of the budget. Special ed right now is about $14.5 million on a $25 million program. So right now our contribution rate is coming in at about 58%. So please bear that in mind. And our maintenance department gets 3% of total expenditures, so they get $4.1 million. But remember, in the first bullet, 2.5 of it comes from redevelopment agency. So really the difference of that is ADA generated dollars that are going to fund maintenance. So the big thing to note is we were just here in December for first interim. We're back now in March for second interim. What changed, really? So a few key things in the revenue section, pretty small. It's about $100,000 overall. There was increase in lottery because our ADA is going up, some increase in reimbursement to other outside agencies that we bill. So pretty minimal or nominal on the revenue side. On the expenditure side, our expenditures did go up by $734,000, but it's kind of a mix, so I'll walk you through that. So it looks like certificated and classified salaries went up tremendously. What that was is we had originally budgeted the one-time compensation as benefits, we've now moved that related to the one-time money in salary that are both certificated and classified units have negotiated. The big one is books and supplies, $1 million. We had originally anticipated for technology to spend $1 million in 18-19 to buy Chromebooks. John Vincent and his team, in order to get the one-to-one rollout at the junior highs, needed that $1 million now. So we brought that forward. That's really probably the largest single change. And then some miscellaneous reductions in E-rate and some federal awards. I will say the other big piece is our contributions went down by $446,000. That was related to additional revenue through nutrition services, meals are up, as well as containment of NPS or non-public school expenditures. Talked with Diane Olson, and we have very few placements right now, which is great. We start the year pretty conservative with a pretty large budget, knowing that's a very unknown category for us. And then as the year goes on, we ratchet that down as we realize that there'll be less and less placements. So net change, $186,000 from first interim from December when we were here. And then I'm going to turn over to Kevin to talk about the multi-year projections.
Frankly, this is the most important part, and not just because I get to do it. But it really is looking forward to what the future is going to be for our budget. So a couple of the assumptions that we use, we have already talked about our enrollment increasing. We do have increasing enrollment because we're using a 3-year average. We do also assume the full funding of local control funding formula, both in 18-19 and continuing in 19-20. We will have additional staffing related to that increased enrollment, so we have increased the staffing costs. We continue to budget for all step and column increases, and we also budget for any retiree savings, and we also budget for STRS and PERS increases as well. We also have the expenditures related to implementation of all-day K. Very nice. I think what you're going to see, and one of the themes from this point on, at least for the next, I would say, 3 years, is we have agreements where we know what our costs are related to program and compensation. So for the first time in a long time, you're going to see a tightening of these assumptions because we really know what we're going to be paying out. And we also have increased technology costs related to that LCAP goal of trying to get to almost $1 million annually for replacing our student devices. So this is our unrestricted general fund only, and this is before removing any one-time money, and this is before any of our compensation increases. And you can see our ending fund balance at the end of 17-18 would be almost $17 million. We certainly meet all the requirements of the state for reserves plus the board's additional 2%. That number climbs all the way up to 19.6 million out to the 19-20 year. So you can see, without any of the compensation increases here, we're putting a lot of money into reserves. But we also want to show you the impact of removing the one-time money, as Jacqueline mentioned, operationally. And we also want to show you the impact of compensation increases across all groups. And what you'll see is, first thing is our beginning balance has to change because we've removed those one-time dollars out of that fund balance. And you can see the net increase and decrease in fund balance at 17-18 now shows a deficit of $466,000. I will say we typically have anywhere from $250,000 to $500,000 regularly kind of fall out of the budget because we just don't spend everything that we ultimately project. So although that number is a little higher than maybe I would like, I would say we're pretty close to break even in the 17-18 year. The challenge then moves into the 18-19 and 19-20. You can see we're looking at deficits of almost $2.5 million in each of those years. And if you look at that impact to our undesignated fund balance, we still maintain the state reserve requirement of 3%. We still maintain the board reserve of 2%. And at the end of the 19-20 year, we still have remaining $1.8 million. What this really says, however, is there's work to do. We just can't sit back and let these numbers go without evaluating our programs, evaluating our expenditures, and making sure we are getting the biggest bang for our dollar for kids. So one of the big impacts we have is the increases in PERS and STIRS costs. We just want to make sure that the board is informed, community is informed. Again, we look at almost a over $1 million impact to the budget year-over-year increase. But looking out to 2021, that will be the last year of the increase in STIRS. PERS, however, continues after that. And you can see at the very bottom, we outlined where we came from back in 15-16. I'll use the STIRS rate first, was at 10.73. This is the employer rate, not the employee, because the employee also pays in. This is the employer. We're going to go from 10.73 all the way up to 19.1. And for PERS, we're going to go from 11.8 up to 23.8. And that number continues to climb. So this continues to be a challenge for us as we look at the budget and managing it with increased revenues. So when you look at the 17-18 year, we really see that we have a deficit, but really that's the one-time money that's flowing through in 17-18. We have negotiated settlements. It has been ratified with CSA, and this evening you took action for CUTA as well. The California economy continues to perform exceptionally well, and all projections continue to look for even positive increases in the next few years. I have continued to say that there's a recession coming. I will continue to say that, but it doesn't look like it's around the corner. Don't quote me. It's coming at some point. And then ultimately, this is a good budget for education. I mean, the fact that we are 2 years ahead of schedule on fully funding the local control funding formula really is a result of an improved economy, and we're thankful for it. And I think what you saw this evening with the agreement with our CUTA group, with what we've done with our CSEA, is there is a priority put on compensating our employees for the work they do for our kids. So ultimately, the next steps for us is we want to continue to evaluate all of our programs to make sure that we are spending the money wisely. We want to continue to match up district priorities within LCAP to how we spend money within the budget. And we're going to have to continue to look ways to make sure we try and balance this budget as quickly as we possibly can. Because when we get out into the next budget, we bring in another year. All of a sudden, you're going to see the 2021 year in our multi-year projection. And I will say, again, because we have these negotiated settlements with all groups over 3 years, those numbers should be much more accurate than we've talked about in the past. In the past, we've always said, hey, that third year is kind of a fuzzy number because we're not sure what's happening. We're going to know. So we should see much more accurate projections out in the multi-year projection for 3 years. So with that said, do we have any questions?
I do. I have a question for you. On slide 18, which is the income statement with the one-time funding removed. So with that, did you say that COLA was included in those out years? Your projected COLAs were in there, and also our projected increase in salaries and benefits?
Correct.
Okay.
That captures everything.
Excellent.
And I would say there's some conservatism. We are continuing the $2.6 million of RVA. We know that's going to grow slightly. And there's still some, we think there's still some flexibility in even how we deal with our RMA, our routine restricted maintenance, for instance. So there's some things that we might be able to do even next year. We've done a lot of good work in that area over the last 3 years. It might be a year to kind of pull back and see, along with all the other construction we're doing, that might be an opportunity to save some money in the future.
Yeah, that was actually the other question I was going to ask. Our intra-fund transfers and contributions to restricted seems to be steadily going up and up and up, and it's not a trend I really like to see. So
no, the biggest factor, as Jacqueline mentioned, is in special ed.
Exactly.
The routine restricted maintenance will increase as the total budget increases.
Correct.
So you'll see that pressure as well.
That's connected with the special ed piece. Even just this second interim, what we have contributed is huge. It's a lot of money. It's an expensive program, I realize that, but
it is. I would inform the board, Fiscal Services is looking at having an outside organization, School Services or FICMAC, come in and evaluate our program from a fiscal perspective.
Absolutely.
We did need to work with our program itself, but we'd like to get an outside look at what we're doing
Excellent. Thank you so much. Very good.
Okay, I move that we pass the interim budget, item 10.2.3.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
Just thank you to the crew.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you for your very good work.
Well, I will say, it is a lot of good work, and we know where all the dollars are. You can start to see that in the trends. You don't see large swings in what the numbers are. I feel like we really have, this is really our 5th year. We've done a lot of cleanup in the general ledger. We have a real confidence in what we're dealing with. There's some work to be done here, but we know where the money is. So that's not our issue.
Excellent. Thank you.
Very good. Any discussion from the audience? Seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes unanimous. We now move to item 10.2.4. Julie.
Thank you. Real quickly, I wanted to recognize Haley, who is our new tech assistant here tonight for her first board meeting. And we're really grateful to have her. She's shared between facilities and Phil Morgan and the IT department and John Vincent. And she's doing a great job. Thank you, Haley. So tonight I'm here to talk about our Charter Facilities Committee. Again, has been hard at work, and they have brought forward 3 projects for your review. The first one is Core Butte for providing a removable wood floor for their gymnasium at $160,000. As you read through their request, you could see that they have a painted concrete floor now that's very slick. And to be used for high school sports, it's kind of hazardous and it's difficult. But this system is installed, it's floating, it is removable, so it's not a permanent installation in that gym. And it can be relocated if it needed to be at a later date. The other request from Core Butte is for planning funds for future solar on that facility where Chico Christian used to be out at the church with the dome. It's kind of an interesting site. Some of the buildings are owned by the church, and then some of the buildings are housing Core Butte, and the electrical is intertwined, so they need to have a really good expert consultant to come in and hash out what will be the best solution for them for solar and how it can work for them. So they're working with ARC. ARC is the consultant that the district has used on our 10 solar installations, so we feel really confident with that. So they're asking for an allowance for $17,926 in order to bring ARC on board to perform those preliminary services to investigate solar at their site. And then the final one is Nord Country School, which we brought before you a couple of months ago, and they had an irregularity in their bid document, so we had to reject all bids and rebid. That gave the school and their architect, who's here with us tonight, Alan Chambers, the opportunity to evaluate how those bids came in the first go-round, which options they could take within the budget, and rolled those into the major component of the basic bid, the base bid. And they also looked at the drainage of the site and increased the drainage scope. So those things combined with all bidding is going up. There's as you get closer to summer, it goes up, but naturally everyone is busy right now. It's great time to be in the construction trades. Everybody's busy. If you're not busy, then there's something wrong with you. And so the prices did go up. So they're asking for an additional $30,000 to be allocated for this project, which will cover the increases in the bid, but it will also cover some contingencies in case they run into issues. Hopefully they won't have to come back and ask for more money before they can complete the project. So those 3 expenditures is what we're requesting tonight, and open up for questions.
Julie, you said that part of the 30,000 increase is a kind of a contingency buffer in case they run into something. If they don't, and there's money left over, do they have the ability to put that money back into their general allotment for that school? Okay.
Yes, it will just go unspent.
So I noticed here that for core, it was just to have a person come and give them advice on the solar, but they're not actually going to be applying for solar construction funds. Is that in the picture?
Yes.
Okay.
So ARC will come on board and they will analyze the feasibility of solar at their site. And they will give direction to Core Butte and Mike Weisenborn, who's working very closely with them, of what a realistic solar implementation might be at that site. And then they would come back to the board and let you know what they found and request funds if it is feasible to do to purchase a system and have it installed.
Okay, well, I just want a clarification maybe from Kevin, because it's been a while since I've had to think about this, but as far as whether a improvement is made to a property that's not removable once it's there, I thought there was a prerequisite that if it's going to be on one of our sites, like if it were Nord or it were Forest Ranch or one of those, that we would do those type of capital improvements, but if it was some other property, that wasn't going to be happening.
Yes, we certainly need to be careful if it's a privately owned facility in this case. But the idea of solar going at this location, the solar panels could go with them if they were to move to another site. So we view the solar component very similar to the gym floor. It's something that is removable and could follow the charter and be used for their benefit in the future. What we're realizing is that we maintain the bond dollars. Ultimately, we're the ones entering into the contracts. We're doing that on behalf and ultimately for the benefit of these individual charter schools. So it's a very good question. It's something we continue to monitor and look at. But the challenge is we want them to use those dollars. We just want to make sure that we use those dollars appropriately, and that if we do spend them on their behalf, they are things that they can take with them and use on a different school site.
Yeah, so that's exactly the answer I wanted to hear, is that would be retrievable, so to speak, if they left, and that site went to some other use. Okay, thank you. Okay, I move approval of item 10.2.4, the projects for the charters.
I'll second.
Okay, motion's been made and second. Do we have any other discussion? Seeing none. Any from the audience? I see none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes unanimously. Okay, any other items from the floor? Any announcements? Kevin, anything to say? Thanks for bringing the lovely people out. Appreciate it. Yes, we appreciate that. Very good. All right, then we will adjourn this meeting, and we're back at it at a board workshop next Wednesday.